And Yahuwah said to Moses, this man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. So let's consider this situation a little bit more. We read that as a single event. There's 4 different events within that block of time. Okay? They brought him to Aaron and to Moses. They brought him before 2 witnesses. So, fine, I won't do it again. He does it again. They bring him before the congregation. Fine, I won't do it again. They bring him and they hold him accountable. Fine, I won't do it again. Finally, they declare what has to be done. Okay? How many opportunities has this person done to make teshuvah from transgression? Okay, something to keep in mind. So let's consider this situation a bit more. This man is brought to Moses and to Aaron, then to the congregation. What we can consider from this is that it was not a one-time offense, as earlier in the Torah portion it is mentioned that if a person transgresses unintentionally and is made aware of it, that person can make an offering to Yahuwah through the Levite and be forgiven of the transgression. Okay? So, oops, I'm picking up sticks on the Sabbath. I'm sorry, I'm going to run to the Levite, make my offering, all's forgiven. I can move on. Or I can say, well, nobody's seeing me, I'm good to go, right? Okay. What we have to seriously consider is that this man who continued to transgress the Torah, knowing that he was transgressing. It is Yahusha who taught that if we become aware of our brother transgressing, to speak to him, and that if he does not listen, speak to him again with 2 witnesses, and if he still won't listen, bring him before the congregation. It would be unjust for this man to be put to death for a single transgression of picking up sticks. That could be corrected by teshuvah. Okay? Again, there's a difference between repenting and making teshuvah. If I repent, I have the intent to make teshuvah. I don't necessarily make teshuvah. I have the intention. I have good intentions. I'm going to do that later. Whereas teshuvah means, oops, and I turn around. Okay? Alright, so although this man was put to death, although he had the authority and the power to stop his transgression, and even after being counseled to do so numerous times, refused to cease his transgression, and that transgression became sin and cost him his life. Now, we don't take people outside the city and throw rocks at them until they're dead. Yeah, well, sometimes you wonder. Okay, so let's consider this. They took him outside they took him and stoned him outside the gates. Okay, the word for stone is eben, that comes from the word bana, to restore or to be established. He is restored and established in what? He's restored and established in his separation outside of the gates. If we remember our studies of Yom Kippur in the past, we understand that there's inside the gates where people follow the word and believe and receive, and they're in covenant. And there's people outside the gates who love and make a lie. If I'm restored and established in something that's not true, I will never be connected to my Elohim. Okay? So that's something important that we get from this particular event. 37 says, and Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, again, we've talked about this verse numerous times, but the verse begins with the word vayomer, that means to speak, as well as something spoken from the heart. We've learned in prior studies that the last letter of the Torah is lamed, the first letter is beit, and together they spell leb. The Torah is the heart of Yahuwah and contains his declarations, proclamations, commandments, and promises. The name Yahuwah, from the roots chaya, meaning to exist and will exist, and yihyeh, meaning to have existed, in the name we can consider every aspect at every moment of our existence. Okay? The name Moshe means to draw out. So what we take from this relatively insignificant verse that's repeated over and over and over in the Torah, can't tell you how many times it says, And Yahuwah spoke to Moses, saying, what we get from that is that in every aspect of our lives and at every moment that we live, we can draw out the declarations, proclamations, commandments, and promises of Yahuwah, our Elohim. We have no viable reason to transgress other than either our ignorance of his word, or, it's in italics and dark, bold print, our desire to ignore it. Okay? Something that we talked about in Bahaloteka is the desire. I know what it says, but I don't want to do what it says. In that case in Bahaloteka, the idea was, I know what it says, but if I live according to the word, I'm going to offend someone outside the word. Okay? So, do I offend someone outside the word, or do I offend my relationship with my Elohim? I cannot offend Yahuwah my Elohim, but I can offend the relationship that I have with him. Okay? So, our desire to ignore it, so that we would do neither, Yahuwah institutes the zitzit in verses 38 through 41. The zitzit is a really, really, really cool invention of our Elohim. It's a master of keeping us informed because we refuse to keep ourselves informed. So he gives us something relatively simple for us to be informed with. And we take the talit and we put it on before we recite the Shema. And if we're doing it right, we grab the zitzit that should have the blue thread. It's called a techelet. Again, the Talmud says, oh, well, we don't have the blue thread because we lost the snail that it came from. The Torah says, put it on your zitzit. I don't care if you get it from Walmart, because, well, let's read. Let's see what it says. Speak to the children of Israel and bid them that they make them throughout their generations zitzit in the corner of their garments, and that they put with the zitzit of each corner a thread of blue, a techelet. And it shall be to you for a zitzit that when you look upon it, doesn't say when you look upon them, doesn't mean that when you look upon the tassels, when you look upon it, specifically when you look at the techelet, when you look at the blue thread, and remember all the commandments of Yahuwah and do them, that you do not go about after your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to go astray. What am I saying in the Shema? Shema Yisrael. Do I perceive, discern, understand, obey, apply, and am I content in Yisrael, the authority of my Elohim? Yahuwah Eloheinu. In every aspect of my life, at every moment that I'm alive, do I recognize that I have a mighty judge who has the authority to redeem me, deliver me, restore me, heal me, bring me rest? Yahuwah Echad. Echad is a word that means one, but it also means to be in agreement with. The numerical value of Echad is 13. The 13th letter of the Aleph Beit is Mem, that represents the word. Am I in agreement in every aspect of my life, at every moment that I exist, in agreement with the word? Because Elohim is Echad. He is in agreement with his word. And if I am and he is, then I am also Echad, which also means to be in unity with. I am connected spiritually to my Elohim. What does the book of Devarim say about the Shema? The Ve'ahavta, it says you will love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. Well, that's Yahusha, he has the mind thing. But then he says, when you get up, talk about it when you get up, talk about it when you lie down, and talk about it when you are walking along the way. So when I get up in the morning, and I'm grateful that I have light, that I can see, and I'm grateful that I take in that breath of air, and I'm grateful. You know, there's blessings for bodily functions. You know, after I've shown my gratitude and I've had my cup of coffee, of which I'm grateful, I go and I wrap myself in the talit and I put on the tzitzit and I prepare my day. Shema Yisrael. Am I going to perceive, discern, understand, obey, apply, and be content in the instructions of my Elohim today? Am I going to apply it to every aspect of my life at every moment? Am I going to recognize that Elohim is present? Am I going to be in agreement with that word? Okay? Midday, as I'm walking along the way, I stop. And like all people, I run into the bathroom and lock the door. And very quickly, Shema again. When I get home, at the end of the day, the last thing I do before I go to bed, Shema one more time. And then what do? I compare notes from when I started in the morning to where I ended up in the evening, looking at the blue thread, asking myself, did I really walk with my Elohim today? Or did I, as this verse says, went about after my own heart and my own eyes, and in that case, went astray? Beautiful little tool that he gave us. And it's in this Torah portion. My wife says I need to take this to the cleaner before Lorene sees it. I said she understands. I wear it outside. Okay. But I will take it to the cleaner, I promise. All right. So it's the blue thread, the techalet, that is to serve as a reminder to remember the word of Yahweh and its commandments as stated in verse 40. That you remember and do all my commandments and be set apart to your Elohim. That I be kodesh to Elohim. That I be dedicated to the single purpose of building a relationship with my Elohim. Building a relationship with my Elohim involves the way I treat other people. Yahusha said, the first commandment is love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. It says the other commandment is just like it. The second commandment is just like it, that you love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? If I'm going to be in the image and likeness of Elohim, then he's given me other people around me for me to act out my being in the image and likeness of Elohim. Loving, showing compassion, helping where I can. Okay? But I remember the commandments and be set apart to Elohim. Where else does it say to be set apart to Elohim? Shemot 19. If you will Shema, if you will perceive, discern, understand, obey, apply, and being content in what you hear in my voice, I have the Ruach that speaks to me and the Word that speaks to me, and you will Shamar, if you will treasure and preserve the covenant between us, then you will be my own special treasure, and you will be Kodesh. You will be set apart. Okay? It says, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I am Yahweh your Elohim. He says that twice to remind us. It's a witness. It's a confirmation that in every aspect of our lives, at every moment that we exist, there is a power there, a mighty force there that will act on our behalf if we will simply be in a covenant relationship with our Elohim. And he will touch on, it doesn't say, I am Elohim. He says, I am Yahweh Elohim. It will touch on every aspect of our lives at every moment that we exist. And he is the one that brings us out of the land of Egypt. Matzor, Mitzarim is Egypt. Matzor is the root of that. It means to be bombarded, to be under siege, but it also means to stray off course. I am the one who brings you out of straying off course. I am Yahweh your Elohim. I'm the one who brings you out of straying off course in every aspect of your life, at every moment that you exist. I'm the one who redeems you, restores you, delivers you, heals you, brings you rest. Well, I'm never a slave. I don't need redemption. I get angry. I get jealous. I get envious. I get all those wonderful things that well up in my shittim heart. Remember shittim, that word that means uncontrolled emotions, they all well up. And I sell myself into slavery to my anger, to my envy, to all those other things, anxiety, depression. Okay? I need redemption. I need deliverance. Because I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I make decisions that I shouldn't make. And then I say, Elohim, what do I do? Get me out of this. Yahuwah my Elohim, get me out of this. I'm talking to the force to get me out. No. I talk to the thing that is powerful enough to speak to me and say, all right, you are in it deep. You're going to have to do this first, and then do this, and then do this. And all along the way, I'm saying, well, I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. Oh, no, I don't. I really don't want to do that. Do I really have to tell him the truth? And restore me back into a relationship with him? Because then I'm saved, right? Oh, wait. Yasha doesn't mean to be saved. Salvation is a product of the Ecclesia Catholicum. I'm never really saved from anything. I'm delivered out of it so that I can be restored. I'm happy I'm restored. Oh, look, a squirrel. And I can go right back to straying off course so that I have to be redeemed, delivered, and restored again. Why do I have a Torah? Because it reminds me of my walk. It reminds me of Lecha. And if I am in a covenant relationship with my Elohim because I perceive, discern, understand, and obey what his word tells me, not only in written form but in voice, then I am going to be shalach. I am going to be sent, because what does Shemot 19 also say? I will make you a nation of Kohanim. I have a responsibility to the world around me now, to minister to the world around me, to teach the world around me, to be in service to the world around me. Well, we've gotten way off course speaking of transgression, but it's a good transgression, right? Okay, good. The word used for your Elohim in this case is Elohechem, which is speaking to the whole congregation collectively. This is for everyone. And it's important, as we considered earlier, that the Torah was for both Jew and non-Jew. It doesn't make a difference what you label yourself as. The Torah is for you as a Adam, as a human being. This commandment applies to both groups. This instruction, when combined with our reciting the Shema, becomes a very powerful tool of self-examination. We not only recognize when we're wrestling against Elohim, or when Elohim prevails in our lives, but when we hold the tzitzit in our hand during the Shema, we look at the techelet, the blue thread, we can also become aware of when we have transgressed the word of Yahuwah in our doing so, make teshuvah, because which becomes our offering to Yahuwah Elohim through our Kohen Hagadol Yahusha. The Kohen Hagadol Yahusha has made it possible for us to make teshuvah. He's already offered the blood offering. All I have to do is make teshuvah for the unintentional sin, or if I catch myself in intentional sin and I really want to make the change, the forgiveness for the intentional sin. Because although it says that blaspheming against the Ruach HaKodesh cannot be forgiven, we have to consider that it's a long shot, but if I become reprobate and all of a sudden someday I'm struck by lightning and I discover that I really have been blaspheming the Ruach, I can make teshuvah and I can come back. Okay? It is not the will of the Father that any should perish. We make it our will as to whether we perish or not perish. Okay? Now, that being said, I can't judge if someone who's so far, I was unfriended, by this guy that I've known for years because, well, he's a staunch atheist and he is just adamantly opposed to my being involved in anything that deals with teaching people about the Bible. And he got very upset with me and unfriended me. Okay, and I'm fine with that. But if he gets hit by a car and something in their brain connects and all of a sudden he says, oops, and he comes back, he can make that relationship with Elohim. Okay? Sometimes it takes a severe jolt of trauma, but that's totally aside from anything we're talking about. The Torah portion, or this Torah portion, serves to make us aware of where we are in our daily walk with our Yahuwah Elohim. With what we've considered, we have to consider Caleb's words to the children of Israel when they chose not to move forward into the promised land at Bamidbar. And Caleb stilled the people towards Moses and said, "We should go up at once and possess it, for we are all able to possess it." Let's consider Caleb and Joshua. Again, we're going totally off script here, I'm sorry. Caleb is a word that means dog. Joshua is a word that means the redemption, deliverance, and restoration of Yahuwah. Caleb represents the physical part of us. Joshua represents the spiritual side. Both of them have to cross over in agreement. But what happens when the physical side of us is the one screaming to go take possession? And this takes us back to that idea in yad, in the hand. Am I depending on my strength to take possession, or am I depending on the strength of my Elohim? Okay? So, Caleb is a good guy. He got to go into the promised land along with Joshua and the 40-year generation. But in this we have to consider that he states, we should go up at once to possess it, for we are well able to possess it, stating that it can be possessed 2 times. We have to consider that we're able to have authority in our physical walk through the wilderness of our physical lives, and that we must take control of our desire to walk in our spiritual lives, conscious of the presence of Yahuwah our Elohim. Okay? Caleb and Joshua. We walk in the physical world, and we have to have control over that walk. The only way that we can have control over our physical walk is to be in line and connected in our spiritual walk. And in that case, we can truly go over and possess the land that our Elohim has promised us. The name of the Torah portion is Shalach, that means to send, and Lecha, that means to walk. This word is the root of the word Shlachim, that means sent ones. Okay, we used a Greek word and called them apostles. But we are Shlachim. We are sent into the world to establish, or to do a Kodesh thing. We are set apart for a particular purpose in our life. Okay? Shlachim, sent ones. We're sent into the world to bring light, and that light must originate from each one of us. So this Torah portion shows us that we must be aware of the light that illuminates us, so that no part of our walk is in darkness. Okay? Very important Torah portion. Okay? And with that, we can say grooviness has been achieved.